Today's video is a summation of some of the previous articles that I've written and that I want to emphasize in new and very practical ways. I'm entitling it Change the Culture Yourself, 20 Ways to Teach the Online World Something Better Every Day. What I mean by the online world is that most of us are online these days. 80% of the population is online. And the online world is governed by some very problematic trends that emphasize polarization and negativity and disaster and fear. This is all based on profitable algorithms. And when I say algorithms, algorithm is simply a word for the reflection of what millions of people reward with their attention every day. So my argument is that if we change what we click on, share, praise, and repeat, we slowly change and somewhat influence what the algorithms learn to spread. In some ways, the algorithm is a giant scoreboard that learns from our behavior. So every click that we make is a vote for the kind of culture that we want more of. So what I'm proposing is that we take some responsibility for this and we do what I'm saying in the title, Change the Culture Yourself, 20 Ways to Teach the Online World Something Better Every Day. And so I'm trying to suggest that we stop thinking of ourselves as just consumers and passive recipients of the algorithms, and that we become owners of education, that each one of us is a teacher. And we are teaching the online world, we are teaching the algorithm by every decision that we make personally. Now, this isn't the only way in which algorithms are determined. It's quite possible and likely that various social media outlets are emphasizing certain things that they think are profitable. But the fact is that we're also a part of the formula, and that we, to some degree, have power to determine how to train the algorithm to either spread fear, outrage, and humiliation and polarization, or hope and solutions and the world of human possibility. We are in the game. Just like we can't look at Wall Street or at the profitable world as something apart from us if we have a retirement account, or if we have a 401k, or if we have any kind of investments in banks, or we put our money in banks, those banks are investing in the world of capitalism. That means we are. And yet we can make choices, and we can tell our retirement investment funds that we want to, say, invest in things that are better for the world and divest from things that are not good for the world, that are violent or that are unhealthy for the planet. Millions of people are doing that with their investments. What I'm arguing is that millions and millions of us could do that with our effects on the algorithms. So I want to explore with you today a simple set of methods of how, through this effect on larger algorithms, you can be more powerful in the world. And you can advise your students and your friends and your family to do the same, assuming they share your values. You can do this on social media outlets, and you can suggest to your closest friends that they do the same. This is how cultures shift in history. And what I'm asking is for you to consider the creative ways in which you could do that as well. So let me explore some of the 20 ways that I think can change the algorithm, and in some ways are also a way to change ourselves. Because what we write and what we say and what we promote and what we read are having a deep effect on our identity, on who we ourselves are. We are both contributors to this, but we're also recipients of it. So what I'm suggesting is take charge and find the ways that you think you can change the algorithms by changing yourself, what you read and what you click. So here's a couple of thoughts, things that I thought of on this regard. And as I'm speaking this, you might want to take notes on ways in which that may affect you personally. For each one of these suggestions, something that you can think of, something that clicks with your mind. Number one is share one solution for every problem that you're presenting. Like if you're gonna write something about a major problem in the world, or you're gonna quote something or post something, think about posting at the same time a potential solution. Look for it. Do a little work. Do a little work with your research. Do a little work with your clicking, and find something good that counterbalances the bad that you're raising. Modern media systems are saturated with threats and failures and scandals, and it's filling our brains with catastrophes. It's not that they're not true, it's that they're designed to make us upset in order for us to keep on being glued to that algorithm. But if you go out of your way to look for repair alongside warnings, healing alongside illness, you are affecting with your human agency a potentially different direction. Number two, reward people who build, not only people who criticize. In other words, you have a lot of friends, you have a lot of associates. There are people who are criticizing all the time. They're negative. They're focused on the negative. There's a lot of negative that has to be exposed in the world. There are people who are doing harm out there. They have to be exposed. But you want to reward people who also focus on building alternatives. If you're going to say something about the Russian president and how catastrophic his effect is on the world and on his neighbors, good, that's fine. Just make sure to reward somebody, maybe Russian, who's doing something wonderful, who's resisting, so that you're also giving an opportunity to see the good and reward the good at the same time. Criticism is essential, but criticism alone doesn't create a better future. Civilizations are built by people who solve problems, who create new institutions, who heal relationships, who invent new technologies and imagine alternatives and work for those alternatives. Those people deserve our equal attention at the very least. I would say, on balance, what I try to do is 20% at most bad news and 80% good news, because I want people to have alternatives and I don't want them to be shocked and depressed by the negative things that I have to post. 3, follow people who offer serious visions of the future. Now, this is very important because algorithms are learning from the patterns of your attention. And if your attention is always the catastrophe, then it keeps on reinforcing that catastrophe is the way to get your attention. But if your feed consists entirely of conflict, outrage, and decline, you're helping to reinforce those patterns. If you deliberately, as an alternative, seek out thoughtful people thinking about the future, innovators, problem solvers, people inventing things that are really fantastic for the possible human future, then you're giving realistic hope as much as you are focusing on warnings. Think in your life of who those people might be. Think of the things that you want to find that are hopeful for new tech and new visions of the future, and post those. Number 4, before sharing outrage, ask yourself, what happens next? Is there any alternative to that outrage? What is the purpose of you posting that outrage? If it exposes injustice, that's a good thing. But does it automatically lead to improvement? Is something missing from what you're posting? Are you amplifying anger that gives an alternative? Or are you amplifying anger that just makes you hate a particular group? Because if you're part of the hate crowd, and if you're promoting hate with no alternatives, you've become part of the problem in the world without even realizing it. And that's true of many crowds, because we are a crowd online. Which crowd are you joining? Are you joining a crowd that is making change, or are you joining a crowd of hatred, a mob? Number 5, you should publicly praise the change makers. Publicly praise the people building bridges, the people building relationships across party lines, across religious lines, across argument lines. Our people learn from that when they see change makers and peacemakers and thoughtful collaborators that are publicly recognized. It motivates them to be one of those folks, and it makes them more likely to imitate those folks. Now, number 6, stop rewarding humiliation. Now, this is a tough one. When we feel very disempowered, and a lot of us are very frightened by a series of authoritarian leaders around the world, we're terrified of what's going to happen next. And the first thing we do is lash out with humiliation. We try to, we especially sort of a dark humor of something making fun of a bad leader. And it is true that it's very tempting. I am not convinced that it's helping anybody. I'm certainly not convinced that it's helping the people who are following those terrible leaders. I don't think it changes their mind to humiliate those leaders. But this is an argument. This is a debate among moral actors in the world. Some people believe that humiliation of bad actors is a good thing. I'm not convinced, even though I've done it myself many times. I think, and I worry, that it deepens resentment. It creates tribal loyalties to those very people. It entrenches people. So accountability matters, but public degradation often creates more conflict than wisdom. So refusing to reward humiliation helps create a culture where correction is possible. Just as often as criticism, I like to provide a way out. I like to explicitly state that somebody is sinning, because sinning involves the possibility of repentance. So you always want to point out people doing terrible things, but you want to give them a way out in order for change to be possible. 7, spend more time sharing ideas than sharing enemies. Focus on the ideas. Focus on principles, because principles can be shared, and principles can overcome tribalism and boundaries. So focus on sharing good ideas that have universal application. Reward, number 8, reward people who admit mistakes. Have the courage to embrace people who have changed and welcome them. This is something very difficult to do, because a lot of us who've been in the trenches and watched so many people profiting from joining a mob that was doing terrible things, we don't want to reward them by praising them when they admit their mistakes, but we have to, because that is the way that society changes. Society changes when people are welcomed from their original positions to new positions, to more enlightened positions. Number 9, read beyond your tribe, which means don't stay with just one issue. Start to appreciate the many different issues and tribes that are on the planet. If all you ever do is defend your group, then you're not helping much. If all you ever do is defense work, then you're part of a tribal system of polarization. You want to be concerned with more than one tribe, with many tribes, and focus on ideas that you embrace, that you're proud of, but that have universal implications. Okay. Now, number 10, subscribe to respectful disagreement. Embrace the ability of people to disagree, and disagree on principles. Don't just make fun of people who have a principle that's the opposite of you, or a position that's opposite of you. Ask them what their principle is. What are they standing for? And then agree to disagree on various principles. And that changes the whole nature of the confrontation and allows healthy disagreement that to allow us the possibility of solving complex problems that don't have simplistic narratives, so that we can find the principles we do agree with, and then agree to disagree on the principles we don't agree. Number 11, promote stories of repair. This is just keep looking for repair in the world, keep looking for healing, and keep posting that and suggesting it. Number 12, ask future oriented questions. Whenever you're in the middle of a debate, always ask people what is their vision of the future, and then proceed on that vision, because the future is a more rational place than the past for many people. It's something they really want. Now, it's true, some people want really bizarre and violent futures. And there's not much to do with that except probe them in terms of the implications. Because if they have a violent future where everybody dies except them, uh, ask them if they're really serious about that. Do they really want the whole world to die except for their tribe, except for their group? And usually people are more nuanced than that. And there's an opportunity, at least, to explore a future that might not be so violent. Like, what else could we do to create a future that maybe I disagree with you. How can I fit into your future? And just get creative with your brain on asking future oriented questions. Number 13, elevate practical proposals. Try to focus on things that are very practical and keep promoting them in so that algorithms start to pick them up. 14, don't post everything. Slow down before you make a decision to post. Posting is often a highly triggered emotional act. Ask yourself before you post, do I really want to post this? Is it constructive? Is it going to change anything? Why am I really doing this? Keep asking those questions. 15, make hope specific. Focus on hope. That's a good thing. But tell people and share people with your specific hopes, because you might find some allies by getting specific. It also suggests that you're a practical person and that you can attract other people to that. Number 16, support people who create things online who refuse to polarize. Those of us who refuse to polarize really have trouble with the algorithms. People aren't interested in us because we're not creating enough rage. Well, go out of your way to look at the people who are creating things that are not polarizing, that are inspiring, or that are analytical about problems in the world, or just analysis that doesn't have one pole or another. Try to support creators who are not polarizing, because that's an investment in the moral reasoning part of our minds. There are the compassionate parts of our minds, and then there's the moral reasoning. And those are not polarizing spaces, and you want to support those. Number 17, turn complaints into commitments. In other words, when people are complaining online, ask them what they want to be committed to. If you're complaining, make sure there's an alternative commitment there. Okay? Complaints do identify problems, and that's good, but commitments create real change. And so whenever possible, ask yourself, what action are you personally willing to take that you want to see everyone take? Even small commitments restore a sense of agency and responsibility. So shift everyone, wherever you can, from spectators to participants. Number 18, become a curator of possibility. Everybody wants to see a more possible world. So stories of creativity, of resilience, of courage and cooperation. Create stories, tell stories of things that are possible, things that have been actually happened and that could be possible in other places. Be a purveyor of those kind of rumors, because they're not rumors, they're actual facts and actual stories, and they could be promoted elsewhere. 19, build small communities around constructive values that are shared. Try to start creating groups of people who share your values, and then build practical things for you to do together. This will give you a sense of agency, a sense of power, and that will help with practice of future possibilities. Finally, in a summary sort of way, treat your attention as a vote. Everything that you pay attention to you're actually voting for. If all you pay attention to for 80% of the time that you're online is something terrible or a series of terrible things, you're voting for those. You're voting for those is the place where everybody should be, where everybody should focus, and basically where everybody should be stuck. And that creates despair, it creates depression, it creates hatred and bigotry and racism and reverse racism. Don't stay there. Make your attention your vote. Algorithms respond to the patterns of your human behavior. If you want different outcomes, we have to become more conscious about what we reward. The future information environment will be shaped by millions of these small decisions that we make every day. So thanks for listening, and please join the Substack and please pass it on to others. Have a wonderful day.